Hi, everybody. Very good evening to you all. We are now live. And today we're going to be talking about one of the most important topics, especially for people living abroad, which is always the question of where am I going to put my money? Put my money where my mouth is, so where I'm staying, or put my money where my heart is. That's if you still have your heart back home. It's a lot of questions that most of us we struggle with. And I do have a lot of personal experience when it comes here. And I also believe that my colleagues joining me today, they also have their experiences. So if you're living abroad or back home, wherever you are, this is definitely relevant for you. And I encourage you to stick around. This is the Migration Truth Podcast, which I am hosting every week with my co-host from Nigeria, Michael, who's going to introduce himself shortly. And we also have today also a business partner of ours, Amalola, who's going to introduce herself shortly. So before we dive in, I'll let my co-host and also our guest speaker to introduce himself, and then we dive into the topic for today. Michael, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Michael, and over to you, Mike.
That was
Oh,
fast.
by the way, I'm in Nigeria, please. I'm in Nigeria. I'm in Nigeria.
Yes, and he's in Nigeria. He is in Nigeria. So Lola, a short introduction from you so that the guests know who you are, a bit of a background, and then we dive right into it.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for having me on today's podcast. So my name is Omolola Olujimi, and I've been in Germany now for close to 4 years. I work as a financial advisor right now in Germany, and that is why I'm here to lend my 2 cents to everyone. Yeah, especially on a topic like this. Yeah, and yeah, I hope you would be able to learn a lot from us today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Um, so in my personal opinion, I think one of the biggest financial tensions that most of us carry quietly is, do I build back at home or do I build where I am? And let this be my opening line for this topic today. The fact is that if you have moved abroad and you have, settled there, and by settle, I mean not settling for less, but you've decided this is my new home, then a couple of things happen. One of them is you are integrating into that new society, and then whether you like it, know it or not, you are kind of gradually but progressively disintegrating from the other place. And it really doesn't matter how often you travel back home, but the fact is, where you're spending more time, that is also where you're building more roots. And what that translates to is the roots that you have in the other place might not be as strong as it used to be. I've been living in Germany now for over 11 years. Every day I'm more German than I'm more Nigerian. And it's not something that I I have control of. It's just natural that way. I'm here, I'm building my family here, but I also have my extended family back home. But the truth is, there is always that dilemma. Where should I invest first? And the thing is, you keep facing it the longer you stay abroad. And I genuinely believe that the faster you come to terms and clarity and have a strategy for yourself, the better. I hardly think there is, an answer that fits to everybody. It really all depends on who you are, where you are, and where you see yourself being in the future. So this would be my opening line for today's conversation, Michael. And I think now we can dive into the key questions so that we will talk more about it. Michael, are you there?
All right, okay. That's right. You're quite correct, and I think the main issue here is, first of all, where to consider home. Where to consider home, and there's always this tie in terms of maybe emotional attachment, that because you leave some persons behind, and then you have a new family over there and all of that. So that crisis is more of a crisis, and I think that is where Lola really comes in today. But to start with, I think I don't know which is best, but I think it has to be maybe from your residency in terms of retirement, residency, and then lifestyle in the long term. So I don't know what to consider first. So Lola, I don't know. We are talking about this issue. What do you think comes first? Where you want to make this decision, or where to start building in the long term? What do you think should come first in your mind?
Okay, so thank you, Michael. So I'm going to start by saying this that you know, I noticed that some people are building houses back home, but they are struggling financially here. And some are stable here in Germany, but they feel like they are missing out on opportunities back home. So the question becomes confusing and sometimes even emotional, just like you said. So the real question is not Germany or back home. The real question is what is the right financial strategy for your life, for your goals, and for your future? Yeah, so from my experience as a financial advisor here in Germany, I have noticed that every good financial decision is built on key factors. The first one is stability, the second one is growth, and the last one is flexibility. So, any investment you make, whether in Germany or back home, must balance these three factors I've mentioned. You know, now let's talk about Germany versus home country. Talking about investing in Germany, Germany offers something very powerful: structure and stability. And then, here in Germany, you have strong legal protection, a stable currency, which is euro, access to structured financial systems, predictable long-term returns. For instance, someone earning 3,000 per month can access financing to buy property here even without having the full amount upfront, which is a huge advantage. So, in simple terms, Germany is where you build your financial foundation. But when we talk about investing back home, let's talk about home. Back home is whether Nigeria or other countries. You often find that higher return opportunities, there is lower entry cost, or there are familiar markets. For instance, 10,000 euros in Germany may not do much in terms of real estate. But that same amount back home could secure land, it can start a business, it can or fund even a major opportunity. So for me, I believe it is not about journey or home. Home is where you can build accelerated growth. That is it for me. Yeah.
Great, great. Maybe let me call some numbers for us so that we also know a bit how important this topic is. Um, so, as at 2024, officially recorded remittances worldwide reached over 900 billion. And this is people remitting money back home from abroad. And then around 700 billion of that went to low income and middle income homes. More specifically to Germany, Germany recorded over 24 million people or migrants who are residing in the country as at that time. In Nigeria, for example, talking about where we all come from, these amounts contributed to over 8% of the GDP. So what this translates to is it's more than an emotional topic. It's something economical. And going back to what you said, it's something that one also really has to structure. Because at the end of the day, it's really about where it's going to pay you on the longest term.
Mm,
And it's also a question of risk management as well. Um, I think I really agree with that, those 3 points that you mentioned. Um, Having the stability, having the flexibility, and what was the second point again?
stability, growth, and
Growth.
Growth.
flexibility.
Exactly. So because the thing is this, when you are abroad, there are certain things that you cannot escape. We've talked about this multiple times on the show. The bills that keep coming. So that's guaranteed. The kind of bills you have here, you don't have that kind of bills back home to a large
Mm-hmm.
extent,
Yeah.
right? So again, you need that stability. Then for me, I will also consider risk as well. I think if we would ask most of our viewers and listeners here, what have been their experience sending money back home for project A or B? I think the answers, the responses will give us the answer that we need. For me, again, it's what it means is again that stability, that growth, and then before you now start flexing your muscles, because if you are here, you pretty much have a lot of control where you are right now than
Mm-hmm.
over somewhere else, right? But of course, there are also the advantages there as well. The low entry points, the flexibility, um, the less regulation, and so on and so forth. But then it's still a question of what is going to work best for you. I know some friends that they are frequenting home a couple of times per year. And again, it depends on what are you investing. Are you investing in physical assets or digital assets that you can control from wherever? So again, it all comes back to having a strategy and a plan that would work for you. Michael, what do you think? What your home? How do you see the how? What are you guys saying regarding those people abroad? Guys,
Well,
come and invest back home.
like we are very quick to convert the rate, especially when you have about euro, dollar, and pounds. We are quick to convert the rate and then coming up with the total. and then, but one thing we don't really know is the bills, like you always mention on this show. The bills are always
Yeah.
that don't smile at you, that don't give a damn what you're facing and all that. So that's the issue. So it's about striking the balance. I like Lola rightly said. First of all, your stability is key. I like that word stability, then growth, then the flexibility. I can't emphasize that enough. So that's the issue. But from home here, we know we can easily convert it. What you earn, if we hear 2,000 euro, we have done the conversion. That's already run into millions. But that 2,000 euro, what it can afford there is different from what it can also afford here. And
Yeah.
you know, and so balancing the reality is a main issue. So when you send money to somebody, there is this unconscious mindset of the person has enough at least. Even maybe when he accepted the money, he didn't even put like a million for me. And one quiet sense of entitlement also on whatever is being sent. All of this is happening more or less or consciously. And then the emotion to know, to feel the pain, what could be going on with this person over there. Maybe have you eaten? Have you finished paying your bills, your head, your utility bills, and all of those? So we since we're not exposed to those realities back at home here, so it's difficult to strike the balance. And I think that's why we're, like you said, risk management or risk assessment comes in. Possibility of this failing and the impact of it failing. But should it fail, what's the impact to me in Germany or in Europe where I am?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe something we could also touch on again is this: how should someone strategize or plan this strategy? Um, Again, considering the different stages of people abroad, there are people who are just coming in maybe this year or last year, a couple of years ago. There are people who
Yeah.
are already 5 years, and then there are those 10 years. Um, so, Lola, from your experience and say knowledge,
Yeah.
how would you position these different timelines and how one can how this also how this also relates to this dilemma of those of us living abroad, so the timeline versus when to start making all these decisions.
Okay, so I would say that the timeline, I mean, when to start making all the decisions should be now. I mean, immediately you step into Germany because there is no time.
Mhm.
You would just find out that time is gone, time is going, and you've not been able to make smart decisions as regards your finances and all that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I would really recommend what I call the dual strategy approach. First of all, like building your foundation first in Germany before
Hmm.
anything else. You need to be stable where you live, and
Yeah.
this includes some of the things that Michael actually mentioned, like the risk management, health and income protection, emergency savings, structured investment plans, retirement planning, and all that, because Germany is where you build your financial backbone. So you need to be, first
Hmm.
of all, stable here before you start thinking of investing in your home country. And then secondly, you build wealth back home strategically. Now, once your foundation is solid, then you can expand to your country. Back home you can invest in real estate that generates income, not just you decide to build house and just leave it in the village, and dust is covering it every
and
month.
you're and you're paying for renovation every other
Yes,
year that you're traveling back
and
home.
your building is not working for you. Like, I mean, you're losing. So you should invest in real estate or in businesses that will generate income even while abroad. So start or invest in structured businesses. Partner in verified opportunities. But this must be done strategically, not emotionally. And the third step will be that you should connect both worlds. This is where the real work happens. Use the stability in Germany to fund global investments. That is why you have to start first by building your foundation in Germany and then use returns from back home to strengthen your long term wealth. So you're not choosing one over the other, but you are making both work for you. Yeah.
Word, word. See how the both of us are just nodding with lots of wisdom.
You know, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because, like I said, I have a friend. The sister is running, trying to go into real estate, and then millions being pumped in. And sometimes when this money is being sent, we don't know that this person is trying to secure a future or making serious sacrifices. So the mentality is, oh, she's running this thing, she sent in 50 million, 40 million, and so she has money. So what to now shift all the family problem to the person, and this is where stabilizing comes in a lot. As
Yeah.
Lola was talking, I was trying to imagine the tree. A tree will first grow, take root. Okay, make sure that the stalk is strong enough before it bears fruit, before others can come and start plugging to it. And that's what about where stability comes in. You have to take root where you are very solidly, and then make sure that your stalk is strong enough to carry to bear all the fruits where others can come and start maybe plugging or tree stones and all that. But if you just come, you've not taken root, you will fall. And like you say, the bills don't smile at anybody in Europe.
No.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. No, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more with you guys. And I think one key part is this, which is adding to the challenge is that expectations and the entitlements. And frankly speaking, a lot of people abroad are struggling with this. And the saddest part is when you do not know that this is something that you can actually control. And I'm saying control because at the end of the day, you are the one in charge. I was watching I was watching a video some time ago about this from Jeff Bezos, the Amazon CEO, and he was saying, or he said that he always wonder when some top CEOs and managers complain that they are stressed from work. And he was like, why are you stressed? You are the CEO. Just delegate. You are in charge. You should not be
Yeah.
stressed. And I 100% agree with that. And the same also applies to us. Of course, they're like emotional blackmails, even from our parents.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they do it consciously or maybe unconsciously, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. What I care about is what affects me. And I have to also understand that I need to be strong, stable, well positioned before I can help them, anyways. Because at the end of the day, we're all pulling each other down if someone is not really standing their ground. So for me, it comes back to the point that you, who is able to provide, who is able to build, you should think about your stability first. Not because you're being selfish, because, anyways, that's for the best interest of everyone you grab. And so I think this is me telling this to everybody who's listening or watching us from wherever. You need to stand your ground. And it's not only your best interest, it's also in the best interest of those people that you love, those people that you care for. Because the truth is, at some point you realize that you are different worlds apart. Like you could never agree on anything. And it's not because they dislike you, they hate you or anything. It's just that difference in the worlds that you now live in. And then the expectations, be them false expectations or true expectations. And you are the one in charge. So you really have to step up. And instead of just suffering it for years, you really have to step up and think about how are you going to position yourself. And personally, I feel like the first place is about doing the deep analysis of your current situation.
Yeah.
Do not assume, do not assume that things are going to take whatever shape. No, if you don't do something, nothing will happen. If you only make assumptions, then you will also get assumptions. There are no control of this, what is going to happen. So I
Yeah.
guess my point here is that A, you are the one in charge and you really should stand your ground. And while you're doing so, take an inventory of your current situation. How much do you earn? What are your fixed bills? What are your variable bills? How much do you have left? And where are you going to start from? And now, not everyone is in the position to do these things themselves. So, again, connect and reach out to people who can actually help you. Again, this is the difference between you having an idea to do something for yourself and someone who specializes in doing that. So my point, just to really hit it, is A, you are in charge. If you don't control things, you're going to be pulled down. And at the end of the day, both you and everyone that you care about will suffer. And when you stand your ground, do an inventory of your current situation, do an analysis, understand where you are today and where do you want to go to. And then do not rely on just yourself for everything. Reach out, connect, speak to people who specialize in
Mm-hmm.
these things so they can help you, because it's serious business. If you keep treating it like something that you're going to learn, it will come to you naturally or
Yeah.
whatever, it probably will not. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to take deliberate actions. You need to be proactive in doing that.
Yeah.
So it's the turn. This is my turn to nod, right? I see you guys nod.
All right, Mike. So, yeah, I don't know.
Go on, please. Yeah.
Like you rightly say, if you don't control things, things will control you.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't control things, things will control you. I'm talking about that. I think something that those of you abroad, the diasporas need to do better is do your due diligence. I mean, to make sure that it's not
Now we lost him.
Yeah.
Talking about investing back home. We should invest in good internet.
Yeah, I know,
I think
right?
my network today is not really great. It's not doing really
Yeah.
great. I don't know if you can see hear me, Mike.
Now we
Yeah,
can hear you. You're
we can
back. We
hear
lost you
you.
for a few
Yeah.
seconds. No. Okay. Yeah. Go on, Lola, please, with your next points.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to give you like a practical example. Let's make this very practical. So for
Please.
example, let's take two people earning 3,000 euros per month. You know, the first
Okay.
person sends most of their money home, has no savings in Germany, no financial structure, and this person is actually exposed and financially vulnerable. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
the second person saves 500 euro monthly in Germany and invest
Mm-hmm.
300 euro back home monthly, and also
Okay.
has like insurance, risk protection, and you know, like a structured plan here in Germany. This person is
Yeah.
building stability and wealth at the same time. So you know, this is
100%.
at the end of the day, it is not just about making money, right? It is about keeping it. It's about growing it and using it wisely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just to add to that, also is people also have to understand the need for protection, especially if
mhm,
you're abroad. Because if you do not protect what you have, if you're not optimally covered, then you couldn't even build anyways, because whatever you're building stands the risk of being shattered, being
yeah,
destroyed, being affected due to unknown situations.
yeah,
I think back home, people are a bit more risk tolerant. The system is kind of built that way,
mm,
probably not intentionally, but anyways, people are now used to it. It's not compulsory to have certain kind of insurance, and somehow people still find their way around. But
mhm,
abroad, it's not really the case, at least not in Germany. And
mm,
I think it's said that way not because not to punish people,
yeah,
but because that's essentially how you can truly build predictable stability.
mm,
Otherwise, you're just doing guesswork, because you have no idea what is going to hit you in the future.
yeah,
And many of us here that we get into situations unknown, unplanned. I mean, imagine if someone just recently took a mortgage for an
mm,
apartment. They were working before, they were earning very well, everything is all good. And then
mhm,
all of a sudden, they just lose their job. In many cases, it is that that loss of job, that termination of your work, it's probably not justifiable. But now you don't have any means to fight back.
yeah.
Really breaks my heart on different occasions that I've come in contact with
And it
expats.
happens a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot, you
Mhm,
know. Now you've lost your main source of income, you are in debt, and not to mention the default dependence on you from home.
mm,
Now, okay, there's a bit of social safety net for you if you've worked at least more than 12 months in Germany. But then how about those bills, the credits that you
yeah.
have, the loan? How are you going to pay those things? Yeah, maybe you can land another job very fast, but then the emotional distress that is going to cost you, and who knows how that's even going to affect you long term.
Yeah.
So my point is, um, so again, everyone who's listening and watching this, keep this in mind. The 3 points which Lala mentioned: stability, growth, and flexibility. While you have that on one hand, also think about, protection and then proactive investments. And not to forget leveraging on benefits which are available to you. Again, this is us telling you about some or giving you some tips for your consideration, right? um, what are those benefits that are available to you? You know, you may qualify. I mean, you most likely qualify for some subsidies in Germany. You qualify anyways to see how you can cut down on your taxes. There are different ways that you can do this. These are free money that you can use to your advantage for your benefit because anyways they exist for you. So this is further supporting my previous points that some of these things won't come naturally to you. So you have to seek them proactively and you also have to seek professional support. Yeah. Michael, good to have you back. We lost you for a few uh, minutes, let's say.
Yeah, too bad. My network today is not really helping, but all good. Good to have two of you still live there.
Yeah. So tell us your points. We're coming gradually to the end of the show. We have about 5 minutes more left.
Yeah, so quickly, I wanted to say that now, trust is not enough. You have to do your due diligence in terms of legal awareness, all right, situated or established. So you have to be aware of the business environment. You also have to be aware of the regulations. You have to be aware of the legal application of the business you're trying to do, and also the character of the person that you're working with. Because even if you're in Nigeria, your business can still fail. I have friends who are now chasing their millions because they didn't ensure their due diligence before going through partnership with some partners in the business and all that. I'm aware of about three running into millions. So wherever you are, you have to be aware of the legal application of the business. You have to also be aware of regulations and all of those things before you put your money into it. It doesn't matter. And again, I think like to agree with both of you, it is good to start from where this business is under your very watch, where you can watch it by yourself, supervise it, and watch it grow. As against just trusting someone elsewhere with your very important first seeds, if I may use that word. You don't play with your first seeds because they're very important. So if it is not properly invested, it could come back to hurt you very in a manner that you might not even want to imagine. So it's very important that all this is a political consideration. Then to also agree with Lola, it is good to diversify. And again, and then strategically, as she would always say, she likes the word strategy, strategically. And then go into what is sustainable. Not to speak too much drama, we've already mentioned about risk management, a probability of this business failing, and the impact of and the impact it will have on you if should it fails. You have to always think that safety kind of mentality mindset what's the probability of this business failing and what's the impact if it fails. Then you have your mitigation measures in place so that now the impact is not very doesn't have a telling effect on you, your health, and all around as a person. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, to everyone watching us, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this? What have you experienced? Where are you watching this from? Um, we would love to hear from you as well. This is a topic that affects all of us, regardless of your current location. And it would be great that we also hear your thoughts. And of course, if you have questions, by all means, leave them in the comments. We're going to respond to all of them. This podcast is brought to you by myself and my co host, Michael. And our goal here is that we can connect both worlds. And this is how we're trying to stay in touch. Because, again, as I mentioned in the opening speech, the longer you stay abroad, the more you're getting into that space. And now the less you're, or the more you're also getting out of your own home. It's something that happens naturally. Funny story today, I was talking with some friends, and they're like Igbo guys, and then one of them did not know that I am Igbo. And then he said something, and I laughed, and I was like, "Oh, you understand Igbo?" I was like, "Of course I'm Igbo, but I've been away for too long." you know. And so the thing is, because you're learning a new language, a new culture, a new blah 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 blah, and if you're not constantly in touch with also where you come from, then you kind of start losing touch gradually. And frankly speaking, my biggest fear is that because most of us who move abroad as adults, we probably would never fully integrate in the new country, in Germany, the UK, or wherever, because as an adult, you're already built to an extent, and certain things cannot really integrate anymore. And now you're still not the full Nigerian or wherever country you come from, because you're also losing touch gradually. So my biggest fear always is having a generation of people who are neither fully here nor there. And that's why for me, this connection is very important, not to lose the touch, to do something actively. And for a topic like this investment dilemma, it's like one of the hottest in this space. Because
Yes.
again, if you cannot manage both worlds, then how are you going to invest in both worlds? Yeah. Lola, final thoughts from you so we can wrap it up for the evening.
Yeah, so I'm just going to close by saying that, my role as a financial advisor here in Germany, this is exactly what I help people do. So I work with individuals, especially immigrants, to build a strong financial structure in Germany to avoid costly financial mistakes and make smarter decisions about global investment. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about making money, right? It's about keeping it and growing it, and using it wisely. So I'm just going to leave everyone with this, that you don't really have to choose between Germany or and home, right? Or wherever you are, the country you are, and home. All you just need is a strategy that allows both to serve you. So be stable where you are right now and build wealth where opportunities exist. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ward. Michael, any final words from you before we wrap it up?
No, what else can I say? Be stable where you are and build wealth where opportunity exists. Beautiful. What a way to end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well then, that is coming to you from a wealth advisor. What could you expect? All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Lola, for joining us. I really appreciate it. Always nice to have you in the studio with us. And thanks to my co-host. This podcast is brought to you by Migration Truth in collaboration with Settling, the platform that we are building again to connect both worlds. Because again, information is flying here and there. We want to see that people have uh, the right information to also make informed decision. So if you're not on Settling, check out the platform. That's a platform that we're building the global migration network to connect you with people on the other side where you want to be. So you can find lots of information there about scholarship opportunities, tuition free education, migration to different countries, and very importantly, connecting with people that are in that location where you want to go. So you hear from them firsthand. What is it like living in that location? So the investment dilemma for migrants, it's a huge topic. I hope that you could gain 1 or 2 points from this session. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And we hope to see you in our next session. I wish everyone a nice evening.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.